After winning $1 million, my son exposed a hidden truth. We don't need your scraps anymore. I watched in disbelief as the news spread through our small town like wildfire. Just yesterday, Jake was my sweet boy, stuck in a world with a worn-out diner booth as our dining table. Today, he was the kid everyone wanted to befriend, merely because of a lottery ticket turned scholarship. Joy mingled with confusion painted across his face, and I could only pray that fame wouldn't blind him to the struggles of those still wrestling with their burdens. The diner, our safe haven, smelled strongly of coffee and fried food, a comforting backdrop filled with laughter and chatter. Regulars laughed and shared their lives, a tight family living in the heart of a struggling Midwestern town. It was here that I worked double shifts, my hands often grease-stained, with dreams of a better future for Jake tucked into my pocket. Trust me, no one loved fried food more than I did, but the clanging pots and pans played the sad tune of my daily grind. At the end of the day, I desperately wanted Jake to know that while wealth could buy many things, it couldn't replace genuine connections. But as the realization hit that we'd won big, a storm brewed beneath the surface. Neighborhood whispers twisted and morphed into resentment, snaking their way through our community. Jake's old friends eyed him sideways, their joys fading like the streetlights at dusk. "What about us? You think you're too good for us now?" was just one of the accusations flung his way. The innocence of childhood laughter slid away, replaced by awkward silences and rising tensions. As discomfort seeped into our lives, I saw Jake's reluctance to embrace his happiness. Fueled by the values I drilled into him: honor, resilience, compassion, he began to understand his old friend's weighty struggles. It was a confusing cocktail of exhilaration and guilt. "We don't need your scraps anymore," he bellowed at some affluent classmates one afternoon, his voice cracking but loud in its conviction. The words hung in the air. The cafeteria froze, eyes darting between Jake and the stairs of privilege that surrounded us all. Torn, I watched as my son navigated a world that suddenly seemed like a minefield. His fierce loyalty to his friends clashed with this new identity. I wanted to grab his shoulders and shake him, scream that not everyone would understand where we came from. We had worked so hard to rise, but at what cost? I felt a knot tightening in my chest. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. That pivotal moment arrived one evening, boiling over in a heated confrontation between Jake and those old friends with knives of envy. Fueled by anxiety and bewilderment, Jake defended his roots against their slings and arrows. As they yelled, "You're not one of us anymore," I felt my heart shatter for my son, realizing those voices might just drown out the echo of those cherished memories we had. Would he grasp the essence of true wealth before it was too late? The fabric of our community was fraying, and I held my breath, hoping for healing amidst the chaos. Would the bond of family trump the newfound expectations, or would Jake drift further into a world spun by paper bills? The air thickened with uncertainty, leaving me to wonder if we could bridge the divides they faced together, or if the world we built began to crumble under the weight of their dreams. The next week felt like a blur. The words Jake shouted, fervent and raw, echoed in my mind, lingering long after the dust had settled. The whispers on the street transformed into a cacophony, each sound a reminder of how quickly things had changed. I caught bits of conversations as I wiped down tables at the diner, voices fluttering like moths drawn to a flame. "Did you see how Jake treats us now? Like he's royalty." A bitter laugh followed. "He's just a kid with a big dream, but does he even remember us?" A sigh full of longing, I served pancakes and coffee, feigning normalcy while my heart ached. Jake, however, seemed smaller, burdened by a weight that was invisible to everyone else. That was the true war unfolding. And every night when he returned from school, It felt like I was picking up pieces of a puzzle that no longer fit together. "Mom, can we talk?" he asked one evening, shoving his hands deep into his pockets as he stood by the doorway. There was a new heaviness in his voice, one that made my stomach flip. It was a plea buried under layers of confusion and hurt. "Of course, honey. Let us sit," I replied, motioning to our scarred diner booth. He plopped down, staring down at the scratched surface as if he might find answers among the circular coffee stains. I wanted to reach across the table, but it felt like there was an invisible line drawn between us. "They're changing too fast. I don't know who I am anymore." "I feel like I can," his voice caught, and I saw the sheen of tears in his eyes. I wanted to wrap my arms around him, to tell him that it was okay to feel lost. Instead, I forced myself to remain still, providing space. "What's really bothering you, Jake?" He drew a shaky breath, and I could see courage mingling with fear.
"People look at me differently now."
"My friends, they don't seem like friends anymore. It's like they expect me to be someone I'm not. I just want to help, but..." The flood of guilt rushed through me, the realization that maybe this one had pulled us apart more than it had connected us. I thought of all those hopes I carried, dreams I crafted for a brighter future, and how they may have overshadowed the essence of our life together. "Jake, you've always been generous. Remember when you shared your lunch with Caroline because she forgot hers?" I smiled, trying to remind him of the kid who saw beyond the surface. He chuckled lightly, then the laughter faded. "But now, people are only interested in my money, not who I am. What if I lose myself trying to prove I'm still me?" I reached out this time, grabbing his hand. "You won't lose yourself. You know who you are, and money doesn't change that. It's what you choose to do with it that will define you." A moment passed, filled with thoughts unsaid, but I could see the tiniest flicker of hope in his eyes. "But Mom, what if I want to give back to everyone, and they still feel abandoned? How do I help?" His question stabbed at my heart. I didn't have the answer, but we could figure it out. Together. "Let us start small," I suggested, my voice steady against the tremors of uncertainty. "How about we invite your friends over for dinner? Just to talk and reconnect?" Jake nodded slowly, the weight beginning to shift from his shoulders. "Yeah, I think I'd like that." As we brainstormed ways to bridge the gap, I felt a renewed surge of determination. Maybe this was our turning point, a chance to reforge connections that had frayed in the rush of fame and fortune. But just as hope budded, a gnawing worry nestled in the back of my mind. What if the divide was too wide? What if those cherished friendships were beyond repair? As I watched Jake's smile return, fragile yet genuine, I whispered a silent prayer, hoping we could weather the storm ahead. Would we be able to mend the broken ties, or would we find ourselves swept away in the tides of change? The days leading up to the dinner felt heavy with expectation. I swept the kitchen floor twice, not because it really needed it, but because I had to do something with my restless energy. Each creak of the floorboards echoed the anxiety looming over us. Could we really fix what had frayed? Would Jake's friends see the boy they once knew beneath the pressure of newfound fame? On the day of the dinner, I decided to make everyone's favorite meatloaf with mashed potatoes and gravy. The smell filled the diner, nostalgic and warm, draping us both in a comfortable blanket of memories. I glanced over at Jake as he laid the table, free of burdens, in that moment. He hummed softly to himself, the tension in his shoulders easing as he casually set the silverware down. "Mom, do you think they'll come?" He paused, his smile faltering as uncertainty washed over him. "Of course. They'll want to see the amazing kid who won that contest," I replied, trying to infuse bright cheer into the room. But beneath my words, I felt the unease. What if they didn't come for him?
What if they only wanted the spotlight?
The thought clenched at my stomach, but I pushed it down. As the hour approached, my heart raced with anticipation and dread. I peeked through the window more times than I could count, each passing minute feeling like an eternity. Finally, the doorbell rang. "Showtime," Jake whispered, his face a mix of excitement and fear. The laughter and chatter of teenagers filled the diner, transforming the familiar space into a whirlwind of energy. Amelia was the first inside, her wide eyes sparkling as she hugged Jake tightly. "I can't believe you did that. I'm so proud of you." His face lit up with joy, yet a shadow flickered across it as other friends trickled in, leading to the laughter that felt just out of reach. They all sat, plates piled high, and I watched with trepidation. Between bites of meatloaf, the conversation danced around Jake, orbiting him like he was a distant star. "Dude, your life must be crazy now," came from Mark, mouth full. "Don't forget us little people." Laughter erupted, but it felt hollow to my ears. Jake smiled, but I could see the fleeting moment of discomfort ripple across his face. "I could never forget you guys," he said, but the uncertainty lingered in his voice. As the evening wore on, the mood began shifting. I caught snippets of conversations giggling about Jake's new wealth, hushed whispers about who might be getting what. The laughter that once held a sense of belonging now felt edged with pressure. Then it happened, the evening's pivot. Michael, his voice sharp with bravado, leaned into Jake. "Hey man, remember how you used to make fun of your parents for running that diner?" The room fell silent. Jake's expression hardened. "That was a long time ago, Mike, yeah, but look at you now. All rich and stuff. Didn't he think you'd act like one of us?" He sneered, the laughter returning, now tinged with something bitter. I held my breath, the tension palpable. Suddenly, Jake's chair scraped hard against the floor as he rose. "What's that supposed to mean?" His voice trembled, balancing on the edge of fury and hurt. "I'm still the same person." The room went dead quiet. I felt my heart racing as Jake stood there, the weight of the world on his shoulders, the laughter fading to cold stares. Would this moment define him, or would it shatter the connections he so desperately wanted to hold on to? In that electric silence, I realized the truth. The life we built had been shaking long before the money arrived. Now, Jake faced it head-on. Was it too late to mend those bonds? Would he be left standing alone? As Jake glanced around the room, something flickered in his gaze. Determination? Fear? Or maybe both? I held my breath, waiting, my heart aching for him. And in that silence, one undeniable thought struck me. What did Jake really want now? Would he fight for who he truly was, or would the shadows of money cloud his soul forever? The weight of that moment hung thick in the air. Jake's eyes darted from face to face, searching for support, or maybe for understanding. But all he found were the swirling thoughts of his friends, some gaping in surprise while others looked uncomfortably at their plates. I could feel every heartbeat echo the turmoil inside him, and as his hands trembled, I thought of how this night was supposed to be celebratory.
Guys, Simon.
This isn't fair. Jake finally managed, his voice rising slightly, desperation threading through it. "You think just because I won some money I've changed? I'm still me." But Michael shrugged, dismissing him with a flick of his wrist.
Doesn't he look like it, man?
"You're acting like you're above us now." Laughter followed, but it was empty laughter, the kind that hurt more than it healed. I could see Jake's face flush, the anger churning with a mixture of hurt and disbelief. This isn't what he needed. This isn't what I wanted for him. "Maybe I'm the one who's embarrassed about those jokes," Jake countered, his voice steadier now. "You don't know what it feels like to just suddenly have everything flipped upside down. And I still want to be friends with you all, but..." He looked around the room, anguish etched across his brow. "I feel like I'm talking to strangers." Then a small voice broke through, cutting the tension in a way that startled me. It was Amelia, her brow crinkled in concern. "But we want you to be happy, Jake. We've known each other forever. We just don't know what this means for us." Silence hung again, the weight of her words echoing in the space between them. I could see Jake's eyes soften slightly, still burning with frustration but now also touched with a flicker of vulnerability. "Then help me figure it out," he said, throwing his hands in exasperation. "I need you guys. I don't want to lose you, but the way you're acting, it makes me wonder if I should just cut ties." The unspoken fear in those words caught in my throat, a chill racing down my spine. Would they rally behind him, or would they let this moment crack their friendship? I held on to hope, watching as some friends shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Maybe we need to talk this out, Mark suggested slowly, breaking the suffocating silence.
We used to do that.
Remember when we fought or argued, we'd hash things out till we were fine? Maybe it's time we do that again? Their eyes began to shift from judgment to contemplation, the spark of camaraderie I had hoped for flickering back into the air. Jake seemed to relax ever so slightly, a brittle peace settling over him for the first time that evening. But the journey ahead wasn't going to be easy. As the tensions began to ease, I felt something in my chest lighten. Maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter, a reshaping of their friendship as they learned to navigate the choppy waters of success and loyalty. But I couldn't shake the feeling that they were all still teetering on the edge, balancing their former closeness with the complications fame brought to the surface. Would Jake open up enough to build these relationships anew? Would his friends come together to support him? Or would jealousy deepen the rift that had already begun to form? With hearts heavy with uncertainty, as laughter and conversations began to merge again, I knew one thing for sure. The real test was yet to come. How would Jake handle the pressure of fame when the glitz and glitter started to fade? As the night wore on, an uneasy truce settled over the table. Moments of laughter would flicker, cascading like sparks, only to be overshadowed by the weight of everything unsaid. How many times could they push down the emerging truths, pretending they were still the same tight-knit group? Jake took a slow breath, his heart racing with every conversation that danced around him. It felt like he was watching an old family video playing in fast-forward, the faces of those he loved growing more distant with every scene. He missed their carefree nights filled with genuine joy, not these strained exchanges filled with doubts and stares. Hey, can we, start fresh? Like, from the beginning? Jake asked, desperation tinging his voice again. This money? It doesn't change who I am. It shouldn't change us. He searched their faces, hoping to see a spark of the affection they once held. Amelia looked contemplative, a small frown creasing her brow. It's just a lot has changed since you hit the jackpot. Yeah, but maybe that's an opportunity, Mark chimed in, his tone softer than before. We could redefine what we mean to each other. This money could help, not hurt. Jake looked hopeful. Exactly. We could do things together. Maybe travel?
Give back.
But first, I need you guys. Silence followed, broken only by the clinking of glasses and whispers of distant laughter from other diners. It struck Jake that even the happiness around him felt so far away, like a distant melody he couldn't quite decipher. What if we could use this to project ourselves differently? Said Michael, and I could see a flicker of realization in his eyes. Like, if you wanted to build something new with this, we could do it. But for that, we have to be on the same page. You might feel different, but we need also to adapt. Adapting? Jake echoed, an unsettling feeling creeping into his gut. Do you mean change who I am to fit in? No, that's not it, Michael started to say, but his voice faltered. Jake cut in, feeling anger rise again like a tidal wave. Then what do you mean? You think just because I have money now I'm supposed to act like a different person? Forget who I've always been? That isn't fair. You think I want to trade this life for popularity? I just want to be with my friends. Tension thickened once more, and I could sense the shift in the room. This was more than just a feeling of pride. It was a revelation, one that would either bridge gaps or deepen divides. Jake, it's not about changing you, Amelia said quickly, her tone urgent. It's about what this means for all of us going forward. We're scared, and we don't know how to deal with this. But if we find a way to navigate it together, we might not just survive, we could thrive. Jake's breath hitched in his throat. Could they really come together, despite all the distance that had formed? The hope in Amelia's voice stirred something deep within him. Looking around the table, Jake saw the friends he loved beneath their fears and hesitations. Perhaps they could find a way to blend their past with this new reality.
This wasn't the end.
But as the conversations resumed, with undertones of uncertainty still lingering in the air, Jake felt a familiar pang of fear that this delicate balance might still not hold. Could they truly become stronger together, each embracing their individual journeys while learning to coexist? The night was far from over, and a haunting thought echoed in Jake's mind. What would happen when the spotlight dimmed and voices turned to whispers once more? Would they all still be there when the laughter faded? The air felt thick as they all sat in that small, dimly lit restaurant. Jake's hands trembled slightly on the table, a stark contrast to the calm facade he was trying to project. What did it mean to hold so much wealth while risking the bonds that meant everything to him? As the conversation ebbed and flowed, he felt a fracture forming. "I just don't want to lose you guys," Jake finally admitted, the words slipping out raw and unrestrained. His eyes locked onto Marcus. "You're my family. Maybe I can steer us together?" Mark looked down at his plate, visibly caught between the old memories and the new reality. Family means more than just blood, you know. Sometimes it's what we build together. But this, he gestured vaguely. This is new territory. New territory, Amelia echoed softly, the weight of her words sinking in like heavy stones. She leaned forward, her brow furrowed with concern. But what if we aren't just looking at dollars and dreams? What if we're also facing what we might lose? Are we really going to let money dictate our relationships? Jake snapped, struggling to keep the hurt at bay. "We can make this work. I know we can. We used to be unstoppable."
We didn't need money then.
Michael shot back, his voice heavy with frustration. "We were driven by who we were, not by what we had." The words hung in the air, a chasm opening wider with every missed connection. Jake felt his heart rate spike, each word cut deeper than the last. Could he really stand to see the walls around them grow taller? Jake cleared his throat, determined to fight through the tension. "Okay, maybe let us plan something? A weekend trip? Just the five of us. Before more change comes. I want to create new memories. Let us get back to us." The table fell silent once more, and Jake's stomach twisted. He recognized that they were battling against more than just the fallout from his fortune. They were up against themselves, challenging the very essence of what held them together. "I'm in," Mark said finally, lifting his gaze, but Jake noticed a flicker of doubt still lingering there. Amelia smiled, a small spark of hope illuminating her features. "I think it could help," she said quietly. Michael remained stoic, eyes narrowing. "It's going to take more than a trip to settle this. We can't just jump back into the past. Then let us create something new together," Jake urged, his heart pounding loud in his ears. "Let us face the changes head-on. This isn't about what's been taken away, it's about what we can gain." As the light chatter around them resumed, Jake's hope began to spark anew, but he felt the threat beneath it all. The tension, wrapped tightly around their hearts, pulsed with unanswered questions. Were they really ready to bridge the divide? Did they even want to? The laughter washed over them, but beneath it, unease danced in the shadows. Just as Jake thought they might be working towards something solid, the sound of a phone buzzed across the table, which disrupted the moment. Michael glanced at the notification. His face paled. "Guys, you need to see this, it's about the money." Jake's stomach twisted again. What could this mean? The moment felt charged, thick with uncertainty. Could more revelations tear them apart before they truly began to mend? Michael's hands shook as he stared at his phone. The glow illuminated his face, revealing a mix of shock and distress. The table fell quiet, all eyes on him. "It's from the finance blog I follow," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're saying there are issues. Huge issues. The investments Jake made, they're in trouble." Jake felt like he'd been punched in the gut. "What do you mean in trouble? How bad is it?" "It says here," Michael read, his brow furrowing deeper, "that the market is unstable. A lot of your holdings are tied up in companies that are about to crash. They expect a downturn. A massive one." The weight of the news hit Jake like a winter chill. The promise of a bright future, built on hopes and dreams, now felt flimsy, ready to shatter. No way. This can't be happening." He glanced at Amelia, whose eyes mirrored his dread. "It doesn't mean everything is lost," Mark interjected, trying to inject a dose of optimism into the sinking mood. "We can figure this out. We've been through tougher times than financial swings." "But it might not just be about the money now," Amelia countered. What if it erodes everything we were hoping to build? Could it tear us apart, like Michael said earlier? The trembling in her voice made Jake's heart ache. Michael shook his head. What's more worrisome is that now the pressure is on all of us. There's no hiding from this. If things take a dive, are we ready to deal with the fallout together, or will we crack under the pressure? Jake rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of his own choices. I thought it would bring us closer, allow us to chase our dreams. What if I was wrong? What if I made everything worse? Silence fell again. Jake's throat tightened as despair clawed at him. He fought every urge to let grief swallow him whole because, deep down, he still believed in something. We can't give up. We have each other. We'll figure this out together. That's what matters, right? Mark glanced at the buzz of the restaurant around them, people oblivious to their turmoil. Sure, but can we trust that with the money potentially gone, the bonds we claim to cherish will hold up? Amelia's voice broke through the heaviness in the air. We can redefine what family means. If we lean on each other instead of material things, we can find a way back. It's not lost if we still have each other. But Jake could feel the doubt pressing against him. What if the cracks were already there? What if being family wasn't enough? The realization chilled him. Look, Jake said, his voice gaining strength. We need to take control before we lose everything, starting with a plan. Let us sit down tonight, map out what we've got, and see where the holes are. If we're going to fight this, we need to start now. Michael nodded, slightly less tense now. You're right. We need to assess the damage and tackle it one step at a time. As they began to strategize amidst the chaos, the faces at the table shifted, resolve mingled with fear, hope tinged with doubt. Tonight, Jake said softly, we regroup. No matter what happens, we face it together. But I need to know, do we really want this? Are we ready to put it all on the line? The air hung thick with uncertainty. They were on the edge, and the danger was real. Would they come together or unravel? Just as they were beginning to talk, Jake's phone buzzed. He instinctively checked it, heart pounding at what it might reveal. His breath hitched. I think I just received an offer that could change everything. The rest of the table fell silent, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. What was he about to dive into? Jake's pulse quickened as he stared at the screen. The message was from an unfamiliar number, but what it claimed stopped him cold. It spoke of an investment opportunity, a buy-in for a startup that was allegedly poised to explode in growth. The words jumped off the screen, dancing in front of his eyes. Could this really be the lifeline they needed? What is it? Amelia leaned closer, her expression a mix of anxiety and hope. A startup, Jake said slowly, digesting the information. They're claiming it could double our current investments, a way to pivot from the downturn. Michael crossed his arms, a skeptical look etched on his brow. And who exactly sent this? There's a fine line between desperate measures and reckless decisions. Someone from my old contacts, Jake replied, uncertainty clouding his voice. They say they've already gotten endorsements from some big names, but I don't know. He felt a tightening in his stomach. The idea of diving into something new felt like hopping onto a wild roller coaster without any brakes. What do we have to lose? Mark asked, his fingers tapping the table like a heartbeat. If we do nothing, we might watch everything crumble. What's the point of holding on to a sinking ship? Just jumping in could mean losing everything we have left, Amelia warned quietly. What if it backfires? We could be risking more than money. The table shifted uneasily as the reality of their situation hung in the air. Each of them understood the stakes. Somewhere buried beneath the fear was the flicker of hope that this could be a way out. Is it worth it? Michael asked, his brow creasing. Before we decide, we need to know everything, the risks involved, the credibility of these claims. Let us not act out of fear and desperation. Jake swallowed hard. Okay. But if we dig deeper, and it looks promising, I want all of us to be on board. We have to take this leap as a unit. Falling apart isn't an option. Amelia picked up her glass, crushing it between her fingers slightly as she pondered. I want us to win too, Jake. But I can't shake this feeling that we are overlooking something. We can't let greed dictate our decisions. Silence enveloped them again, the weight of her words sinking in. Make a list of pros and cons, Mark suggested. It'll help us see things clearly. And let us also reach out to more contacts for feedback. We can't walk blindly. Jake nodded in agreement. That's smart. We'll meet again later tonight with all the information. But if we choose to go forward, we do it together. And I need everyone to be 100% behind the idea. Just then, Jake's phone buzzed again, a new notification lighting up the screen. Sweat broke on his forehead at what it could be. With trembling hands, he opened it. Let us see what else is out there, he murmured, his heart drumming a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Amelia leaned closer, curiosity overtaking her anxiety. But as Jake's gaze scanned the message, he felt something darker brew inside him. Wait, he paused suddenly, eyes shooting wide. This isn't just a random opportunity. It's tied to someone we know. Someone I didn't expect to see involved. Every face around the table mirrored his shock. The shadows of doubt crept in again. What have I gotten us into? He whispered. They were standing at the edge, but now the question was, would the revelation pull them together or tear them apart? Jake's heart raced as his mind whirled with possible implications.
Who could it be?
What did this mean for their already fragile situation? He felt the stares of his friends like burning coals, each waiting for him to break the silence that had enveloped them. Who is it, Jake? Mark asked, urgency creeping into his tone. The air felt thick, like a storm was brewing, and every second counted. It's Taylor, Jake finally admitted, the name slipping from his lips like a weight being dropped. Their former partner, the one who had made a name for himself before their company began to sink. The thought of Taylor's return sent a chill down his spine. The last time they had contacted each other, it hadn't ended well. Amelia's eyes widened. Taylor? The same guy who? Yes, that Taylor. Jake's eyes were glued to the phone as if it held the very key to their fate. He's involved in this startup. Apparently, he's one of the main investors. Michael rubbed his temples, a frown brewing. That changes everything. We can't just dive in without knowing what kind of business this is. And more importantly, what his motivations might be. Or how he fits into our history, Amelia added, squeezing her glass tighter, her knuckles going pale. We've all been burned by him before. Jake nodded. Memories flooded back the arguments, the betrayal, the way Taylor had left them in the dust when things got tough. I know. But if he's backing the startup, it might mean something. A second chance, perhaps? Or a trap, Mark countered. We cannot afford to be naive again. What if he's just using us? With each comment, tension thickened the air between them. Jake searched for answers, but all he found were dead ends. Taylor's reputation for boldness and for taking risks that others deemed foolish had always walked a fine line between genius and disaster. What do we do? Mark asked, frustration etched across his face. Do we even reach out? What if it is a trap? Amelia's voice shook. We need to consider our losses, not just potential gains. You're thinking too narrowly, Jake replied, almost defensively. This could be our moment to leverage his success for our benefit. Just because we had a falling out does not mean this opportunity is void of value. But doubt bathed the room in uncertainty. Each friend was wrestling with their own fears. Jake could see in their eyes the conflict between hope and despair, the way they wanted to believe but struggled against their past. Let us contact him, Michael finally said, breaking through the heavy silence. But let us do it cautiously. We'll reach out, set boundaries, and make sure we're prepared. This isn't just about money. It's our livelihoods on the line. Amelia was quiet but nodded slowly. As long as we stay smart about it. We have to promise to not let our emotions cloud our judgment this time. Jake took a deep breath, trying to dismiss the growing anxiety in his chest.
Okay.
I'll reach out. And if we choose to go ahead, we do it together. No blindfolds this time. As their agreement hovered in the air, Jake felt like he was straddling a precipice, teetering on the brink of a huge decision. But we need to prepare for what happens if Taylor turns out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. They sat still for a moment, the dark possibilities looming over them like storm clouds, and Jake wondered if this conversation marked the beginning of their redemption or their downslide into chaos. Just as he gathered the will to open Taylor's message and respond, a notification chimed again. This one was from an unknown email address, with the subject line boldly claiming the truth behind the startup. Jake's pulse quickened. What truth was out there waiting for him? Would this reveal strengthen his resolve or unravel everything they planned? Looks like the plot thickens, he murmured, glancing up to see his friends bracing for whatever came next. The drama was far from over. The sun dipped low as they gathered around the diner's wooden table once more, the familiar aroma of coffee mingling with anxiety. Jake's heart raced, caught between the weight of potential downfall and the goal of connection. They had argued, laughed, and cried, but now it was time to confront everything head-on. Jake rubbed the bridge of his nose, trying to quell the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. All right, everyone, we got a few paths to consider here. The truth about the startup could either be a lifeline or a trap. He felt the gravity of the words sink in and glanced from one friend to the next. Michael, always the logical one, nodded. We can't let fear grip us. But we also can't be hasty. Let's look at everything, the email, Taylor's track record, and what this means for each of us. If we're going to move forward, we have to be united. Exactly. Amelia chimed in, her eyes bright with determination. It's our chance to create something meaningful, not just about money, but about our collective future. The murmurs of agreement that swept across the table seemed to knit hope back into their seam. Jake took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. Then what if we use this opportunity not just for ourselves, but for our community? We can leverage whatever comes out of this to help others in town. This could redefine us. They exchanged looks, memories flashing in their minds, shared school days, late-night talks at the diner, and the struggle of watching their parents hustle through tough times. Mark leaned forward, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. I like that idea. Let us not just look to gain from this, but give back too. If we could create scholarships or support local businesses, not just elevate ourselves, but lift everyone, we could genuinely change lives. The fire in the room reignited, flickers of passion made manifest in nods and whispered affirmatives. Jake felt a surge of warmth swell in his chest. Maybe this was the shift they all needed. Okay, Jake said, feeling more confident. But we're doing this together. No secrets. We'll share every detail, every concern. And when we reach out to Taylor, it's as a united front. If he tries to play games, we'll be ready. And if the truth from that email is something else? Amelia questioned. What if it's not what we think? Then we face it head-on, Jake replied, steeling himself. No more running. We've all seen what avoiding the truth can do. I want us to be real with each other forever. As they worked through plans, Jake felt the fabric of their bond weave tighter. Memories of resentment and doubt began to fade under the weight of newfound purpose. Hours passed as they dug deeper into the details. The email turned out to be from an analyst warning them of the potential pitfalls of investing with Taylor, but also highlighting some strengths. This can't just be about fear. We have to balance caution with our goals. That's the lesson we've learned, right? Mark offered, confidence brimming in his voice. As they agreed to draft their message to Taylor, Jake felt like a weight had lifted. For the first time, he understood what real wealth could be: community, trust, and shared values. They were transforming in front of each other, showing grit, determination, and vulnerability. Are we ready? Jake asked, looking around the table. Their expressions reflected a mix of fear and hope, yet there was also strength in unity. Ready, they all asserted in unison. That night, as he sent the message, anticipation buzzed through him. Maybe they weren't just entering the startup world. Maybe they were reclaiming their destinies. Days turned into weeks as they navigated discussions with Taylor. What started as an irritating reminder of distrust began to morph into negotiations filled with intention. Each meeting brought clarity as they learned to communicate openly and honestly. And through it all, the friendships they feared losing deepened. The groundbreaking launch was 2 weeks away. The diner was abuzz with energy, and Jake felt proud as he watched his friends plan the charity event they could host in tandem with the launch. They wanted to raise funds for scholarships, kickstarting dreams for others like them. On the day of the event, the diner was alive with laughter and camaraderie. Long tables filled with food, drinks, and good cheer were set, and each friend wore a t-shirt that read, "Together we rise." Jake looked out at the community gathered, each face filled with excitement and gratitude. As people mingled and ate, he felt his heart swell. They were not just friends anymore, they were a family. And through every challenge, they learned that wealth was not just about money, it was about connection, love, and giving back. As the night wore on, Jake felt a change within himself. No longer was he the boy burdened by a lottery ticket. He was a testament to transformation, a symbol of hope in his town. That night, with friends by his side, Jake made a silent vow. They'd always be honest, keep faith in each other, and never forget why they started. Together, they had built a bridge over the chasm, and the community that once felt distant now felt like home. That moment of realization, Jake smiled. Everything they had faced had brought them here to a place not defined by money, but by togetherness and resilience. The best truly was yet to come. You need to subscribe now to never miss such inspiring stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and spread the positivity. Comment below how this story made you feel. Did it inspire you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this transformative message. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through your actions. Let's keep this community thriving.